Hi, my name is Nick Kelly, and I've chosen for my subject today to talk about how MacBook computers are not invulnerable to viruses and hackers. Now, the reason I've decided to talk about this is because when I bought my MacBook 5 years ago, back in 2008, I was told by not only the salesman but friends and family who own Macs that nothing would happen to it. That the MacBook computer was invulnerable to viruses, to malware, to people hacking into it, that it was perfect. Well, for the first 2 years of its life, that seemed true. Nothing happened. I didn't have any issues with the MacBook whatsoever. I didn't have any problems with apps mistakenly closing, or the Safari or Firefox or any browser I was using suddenly stopping or freezing on me. And it worked really well, and I was able to get through my master's program. 3 years into it, I started noticing things started to slow down a bit. I started noticing how the Internet Explorer or Safari would suddenly quit on me, or even shutting it down, it would take a long time, and sometimes it wouldn't shut down at all, and I'd have to take out the battery to get it to reset. So I finally got some antivirus software and started cleaning up the computer. About 4 years in, some of the apps wouldn't work at all. It would lose documents. I started having a lot of issues with things just kind of opening or things not being able to close up. I had, in the 5th year, it was just about gone. The MacBook was dying quickly. In fact, during this class, it finally gave up and died on me. And I had to buy a new computer. And this time I got a PC, because what I learned from doing research and from personal experience is that PCs and MacBooks are about the same as far as vulnerability. Now, MacBooks are considered a little safer because PCs have the market share. And so they own about 90% of the market. And so they say that hackers and people who create, malware, malicious software, and viruses can get more bang for their buck going after PCs than they will MacBooks. But I've brought in some interesting statistics. What this shows is this is some research that was done, and where they asked MacBook users as well as PC users questions and found out what they thought about how vulnerable their computers were. Well, first you'll notice on the bottom is where the MacBook users, and the top bar will be the PC users. The MacBook users, you'll notice at the very beginning there, the small bar, is that 9% of MacBook users think that nothing will happen to their computer. Nothing at all. Where only 2% of PC users think that. Most think that they could get viruses quite easily, where MacBook users think 9% of them think that they're invulnerable. Now it moves up a little bit, and you'll see right here that 42% of MacBook users think that something may happen, but they're not quite sure, where only 29% of PC users think that something may happen. And you'll notice how it starts to grow, that 34% of PC users think that something's going to happen, that it's inevitable, that they'll probably get a virus. How strong or how malicious this virus will be, they don't know, but they know they're going to get something, where only 13% of Mac users think that they'll probably get something. And it gets smaller and smaller to the severity of the virus. So a lot of Mac users think that they're invulnerable. They think that they may get something, it won't be anything big, and they'll go right along with their Mac and have no issues or experience any problems or be hacked. Now, what I learned from doing the research is that the current statistic is that 1 out of every 5 Macs are already infected. Now, this statistic is quite skewed because they're not exactly sure how many Macs are infected out there. These are only the ones that are reporting. So it could actually be quite higher. And what they're being infected with, and I have a graph right here that shows this, is that you'll notice how 75%, that's this bigger portion here, 75% of Macs are infected with Flash Player malware. They get this through Adobe plugins, they get this through, they'll get updates for their Adobe Flash Player, and a lot of these updates aren't coming from the actual manufacturer, but they're coming from other sources that infect your computer and the MacBooks. And then the next largest one that infects it would be plugins that they'll get, and fake antivirus software that comes up and that they ask you to install, and you install it thinking you're protecting your MacBook, but you're actually not. So those are the main culprits. And now, as far as experts that they've been able to interview and they've talked to them, I've got a few testimonies here that's where the experts weigh in and they talk about what's going on with the MacBook. And the first one is from Jose Nazario. He's a security research manager at Arbor Network, and he says, while I use Macs time and time again, we've seen they're no more secure than Windows systems. But at present, you're less likely to be exploited on a Mac because there are just fewer viruses and attackers targeting them. So, and he says, sadly, because of that, Apple hasn't really taken much of an aggressive approach about protecting their computers. In fact, it's left up to the user mainly. Now, Avi Rubin, he's a computer science professor at Johns Hopkins University. He says right now the Mac is more secure than the PC, but only because the PC still has almost 90% of the market. The Mac is no more difficult to hack than the PC, but hackers get much more bang for their buck attacking Windows, so you're safer on a Mac. So again, you could be safer on a Mac, but that doesn't mean Macs are invulnerable, and that's the point I was trying to make. A lot of salespeople out there, or even friends that own Macs, will tell you that, yeah, you're not going to get a virus getting a Mac, or you'll be safe. But that's not the case. You're still vulnerable. You could still get hacked. You could still get malware that'll destroy your computer. You need to be careful, and you need to have antivirus software on a Mac just as much as a PC. Thank you.